ShoreBreak Sounds.
Welcome to Over the Falls podcast, episode number 49. This week we sat down with actress Hedydd Dylan. We discussed growing up in Aberystwyth, RADA, theatre, TV, parenting, and as always, a few tangents along the way. Do you want to support local growers and farmers? Are you keen to have local, nutritious food on your plate? At Boyd Dyfi Hub, they sell some of the best local produce from the Dyfi Biosphere and Ceredigion. They offer collections and delivery around Aberystwyth, Borth and Talabont. Visit the online shop, open Thursday to Sunday, to order delicious food and show your support for local growers and farmers. Ed, we'll just start with at the beginning, basically. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're born in Aber.
Yeah.
Raised in Aber.
Correct.
Primary school? Which primary school did you go to?
Rhaead Pennau.
Rhaead Pennau, okay.
Yeah.
And then Penwethig?
Yeah.
Did you always have it in your head that you were going to be going down that creative road, acting road from a young age?
Creative, yes. I thought I was going to be an artist and then a fashion designer. And then, and then I got a bit disillusioned about fashion because I worked at a fashion house in London for a bit. I did some work experience with Amanda Wakely, which she was kind of big in the 80s and then petered out. But I remember I had a chat with the American CEO of that company. I'd only been there for a couple of weeks and I needed a reference. So I went and asked him for a reference and he was like, "Oh, can you write it yourself and I'll just sign it?" So I wrote myself this glowing reference.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I put it on his desk and he read it and laughed and he was like, "Sit down." I had a little chat with him and he was like, "Listen, can I give you some advice? Get out. Get out of this industry now. Get out while you still can." And I was like, shit.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and I sort of, I heard him. I kind of listened to him because I felt like there was this real coldness and superficiality, and I'm sure you can avoid that in the industry, but it just put me off. And then, long story short, I fell in love with Macbeth doing English GCSE, and then it kind of, acting came on my radar as a possible career choice, and actually kind of following Catherine, your dear wife.
Yeah.
She kind of knew that she wanted to do that, and I was like, oh right, you can do that professionally. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was sort of that really. Yeah.
Okay, and then so was it straight after school you went into acting, or was it what was the process then? I mean, what was like your first sort of, right, I'm going to go down this road? And
I was never chosen for the school plays because I was crap and also maybe a bit of a rebel. So I was too naughty to get any good parts in school. And I auditioned everywhere when I was 18 and didn't really get in anywhere. I got some good feedback here and there, just enough to kind of keep me on the hook. And then I took a couple of gap years, went to Australia for a year, worked a bit in Aber and auditioned again and got into RADA that time. So I was like, okay, good.
So how many times did you try for RADA then? Was it just the once?
Twice. I auditioned for RADA when I was 18,
right, okay.
And I got through to the second round, and in the interview he was like, so tell me, what would you do if you didn't get in this time? I was like, travel, get some experience, maybe try again. Good, do that. Oh no.
That doesn't sound good.
So I just talked myself out of the place. So no, I had another go.
Okay.
Had you done much acting before you went in to try and go for RADA? Had you been in things like productions in the Arts Centre or anything like that?
No, that's the thing.
Really?
No, I think it was really bad. I did try.
Wow, no way. So you just kind of went
I think
straight in.
Some people have a natural aptitude for acting, and I think I learnt it slowly.
That's quite impressive though, isn't it? Because RADA's notoriously difficult to get into, isn't it?
Yeah, I worked really hard for the audition the second time round. I took it seriously and although having said that, I did recruit Sue Jones-Davis to help me with my monologues, and Brilliant. I'd chosen a modern piece. You have to do a Shakespeare piece and a modern piece. And I showed her my modern piece, and she just looked at me and she was like, okay, yeah. Okay, and tried to work on it with me. And then the next day, which was like the day before my RADA audition, it was the final round, she slipped an audition book through my letterbox, didn't say a word. Just
The day before.
like, oh crap, my speech must be awful.
Oh no.
So yes, I like looked through this book and had to like learn it on the train to London. And so I did like a speech that I barely knew for my fourth round, but just kind of got away with it by the skin of my teeth. It was a good choice.
How nerve-wracking was that process? Like the auditions and things?
Yeah, it was 4 rounds. They introduced the 4th round just before I auditioned, actually, because they'd had some issues with people fighting and stuff in the school.
Really?
Yeah, so they introduced the 4th round to try and assess character and kind of whether people were able to work with each other, or who had their elbows out, kind of thing.
Okay,
They didn't want that anymore. They
didn't want the sort of cutthroat attitude, is it?
Yeah.
But that is a cutthroat industry, though, isn't it? 'Cause is it kind of every man for himself in a sense, or not?
Yeah, I don't know, because what you bring is kind of quite unique. I think it's really competitive, but most people are offering themselves, and I don't know. It doesn't feel directly competitive.
Okay.
I don't often feel like I'm in direct competition with anybody, because usually if someone else gets a part, they're quite different from me. I'm like, okay, fair enough. I wasn't what you wanted for this. I did a little bit of casting, I accidentally fell into it because I was working kind of in fundraising at a theatre in London. I won't name the theatre, but the artistic director fired the casting director, and then I got roped in, and I cast 3 plays, and that was really helpful in terms of my ego as an actor, because I was aware that often the best actor we saw didn't get the part because they weren't quite right. And sometimes when someone walks in the room whether they're going to get the part or not, because you just sort of have a sense of the vibe of the character. You kind of know what you're looking for. And as much as we like to think we're transformative, we're not really, not that much. I mean, in theatre maybe more so, but yeah, you're sort of, you're bringing your own kind of energy. And it was like really, it was a relief to kind of realise that it's okay if my energy isn't what is right for something.
Okay.
It's definitely a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
I would say, and it sounds true as well, but it's a good way, definitely a good way to sort of think about it, it seems like. Would you say people support each other as well? Because you said it wasn't overly like cutthroat. So did everybody want the best for each other when you were in RADA or going for positions?
Yeah, mostly. We're still really tight as a year group. There was a few people maybe who are a bit more ambitious. I think I probably am on the other end of the spectrum. I possibly lack ambition.
You've done pretty well for someone who maybe lacks ambition.
I don't know.
Done really well.
Yeah, I feel like the people I've surrounded myself with are not like that at all. I do know that exists, but then I think only as much as it does in any industry. I think some people are just competitive, and the people who kind of like would stab you in the back, I don't think they ultimately get that far. They're not a part. They're not like embraced into the kind of community. I don't.
They'll get figured out, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Although you hear a lot about kind of arsehole, very successful people, don't you?
You do hear a few stories about it. They try and keep it under wraps, don't they? But you do hear a few sort of stories. What was it like when you actually got into RADA then? As in, obviously you talked a little bit about the process of gaining entry to it, but then when you were in RADA, what was that like,
I loved it. It felt like Hogwarts. It was sort of this magical place. I'd not been to London really before. I'd visited, but I was actually kind of living there. And it was this big old fancy building on Good Street. I loved it. It was hard. They sort of tried to hammer my accent out of me.
Really?
Relatively successfully. I've had kind of time at home, so I'm Welsher than I usually sound.
So they thought you were too Welsh, basically.
Yeah, too Welsh. It's changed now. They sort of they realise they've caught up a bit with the industry, because my Welshness is kind of my USP, so I kind of need it. I go up for lots of Welsh parts. Like, people are much more kind of concerned with authenticity now, whereas it still felt quite archaic at that time. It was all, you must learn to speak like the Queen, and it was very heavily focused on classical theatre, which suited me because that was my jam. But I had no telly training at all. And, since becoming a mum, I can't really do theatre anymore. I hopefully will again at some point, but I'm trying to focus on telly. And yeah, I mean, I've had some experience in telly by this point, but when I first got into it, I was very green. I didn't really understand how to do all the technical side of that.
Do you think that helped you in a way, though? Because you were sort of naive to it and you were just sort of like going with the flow rather than sort of worrying about it? I don't know.
I think I just got lucky getting some telly jobs and people being kind of patient with me, because I remember a casting director, I went for a Welsh thing, I can't remember what it was, it's gone, but she literally told me in the audition to sit on my hands. She was like, okay, you're bobbing out of shot, can you stay still?
Stop moving. The frame.
Yeah, because I'd just been doing this big old hammy Spanish play, and I was just gurning on camera. She's like, okay, you have to stop now, you have to be very still, I'm going to give you another chance.
Is it completely different then, TV and theatre? Is it completely different atmosphere?
Yeah, it's sort of, the more used to both you get, the more similar they become, I think, in terms of you both. Yeah, I guess it's just a size thing mainly. I've kind of, I don't know, as life's kind of battered me about a bit and I've got a bit older and a bit more experienced, I'm understanding more and more how to be authentic as an actor. I feel like I'm pretending less and just being more honest. And that's like one of the lovely things about the kind of acting as a kind of life journey, is that you get to kind of reflect what you're learning, and you're always getting better at it. Well, hopefully anyway. What was your question?
I think it was the difference between on stage and screen, I suppose. And then I had kind of a follow-up question for it, involving nerves, because I don't know anything about acting and I've never done any acting, but I could imagine it being more nerve-wracking doing it on the stage. Is that true or not, or is it equal nerves when you're on TV and film?
I think it is more nerve-wracking on stage, definitely.
Yeah, I would have thought.
Yeah,
that way.
So there was a director at the RSC was working with a neuroscientist, and they were doing brain scans of the actors, and a press night performance was as stressful in terms of the way that they were reading stress in the body as like a small car crash.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I can totally relate to that. I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right.
It's probably it's like aging people, 10 years back.
Pressure though, isn't it? So much pressure to perform.
Yeah, it's really intense. Over the years, I've learned to just enjoy it. I'm like, I have my little routine of kind of dealing with the stress. I'm like, I kind of welcome it. I'm like, come on, where are you? And because I know, I trust myself enough now to know that I'm gonna operate well on that level of stress. So I just sort of, I let it come. I'm like, okay, there you are. Thank you. You're going to see me through this show. Come on. Me and you together. Me and my stress.
Do you have to improvise a lot when you're on stage? Or is it more, you've got your lines so nailed that you're just like, no, it's okay. We've done this loads of times. We've got this.
There's a little bit of improvisation if you're drying or if somebody else is. I love to kind of like sort of mix things up a bit, not in terms of lines, but in terms of blocking, in terms of kind of intention. I worked with an actor once who's from a musical theatre background, and he got really stressed when I was like messing around on stage. And he'd come off and he'd like throw down his props and say, Hedydd's changing things again, just to warn you, just because I'd gone like the wrong way around the sofa, or like tiny things, but he was used to things being blocked like
regimented.
By yeah. So he was quite stressed about that. Yeah. I also worked with an actor, and I won't name him, who just forgot his lines every night. So I would have to, I learned all of his lines as well. Or all of his lines in my scenes. You know, if he was on stage with somebody else, they had to deal with it. But like, if it was me on stage with him, I knew his lines, so I would have to find ways of like feeding him his lines. So I was like, do you remember yesterday, I think I heard you praying to yourself in the bathroom, and then he'd start being
that's
like,
right.
oh yes, that's right, oh Father.
You know, that's quite good of you there, because a lot of people might just be like, I'm going to launch this guy under the bus now. I'm like, no idea, mate. Don't know what your line is.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about theatre. I think that's why you don't get like as many arseholes in theatres, because your performance is only as good as your sort of weakest player. So you gotta be there for each other, and it's about the play. It's about the kind of united effort to tell the story. So it's not about any one ego. Obviously, you still get dickheads, but
that's really tickled me. Oh god.
The nerves. So do you remember the first sort of big play that you were in, and do you remember the feeling of that when you're about to go on stage? The nerves I'm talking about.
I don't remember what the first play I did was. It was in I think it was in Theatre Clwyd. It was a farce, and I was playing like a sort of bimbo. It was Noises Off. It's a really funny farce by Michael Frayn. It's a great play. And I was quite nervous because I also had to be in my underwear. You know, it was like underwear and suspenders. It was one of those where I'm tottering about in stilettos. Like, it was a sort of commentary on a farce, so it wasn't quite as sexist as it sounds, but it was, you know, pretty dated now. But I was so weirdly more nervous about the sort of semi-nudity thing that I started modelling for life drawing classes to get myself over
interesting,
the like feeling exposed thing. Yeah. So weirdly, by the time, because I was doing it in this art studio in Battersea in winter, and I remember like getting frostbite on one side of my body and then heat burn on the other from the heater. It was really weird, and so I felt kind of invincible going on stage then after that, and it was quite a good, like, it was a nice play to ease me in, because it was quite daft and it was quite physical, and I think a lot of action really helps with nerves, having to be still. I think I definitely wasn't ready at that point in my career to do a big old play with a lot of stillness in it. I wouldn't have known what to do with my hands, kind of thing.
Like learning lines, how easy do you find that? Because I struggle to remember my phone number some days. I don't know how actors or actresses do it, because I've seen some of Catherine scripts when she was acting. It's like, how the hell are you learning that?
Yeah, I used to find it really difficult, actually. I remember Bill Nye sort of gave young actors a public bollocking for not learning their lines before starting theatre jobs. I was like, yeah, fair play, that's me, sorry. Not that I worked with him. But,
he's a legend.
Yeah, he's a legend. He's amazing. And because he said it, I really tried to, I was like, yeah, you're right. Rehearsal time is for everybody. It's not for you to learn your bloody lines. But that's me, basically. I learn my lines in rehearsal, so it does take me a few weeks, Yeah. However, when I did Emmerdale, you often get your scripts the day before you shoot, and then I discovered this app called Line Learner, and the kind of best thing about Emmerdale, I think, for me, was that I learnt to learn lines. So I now can learn lines really quickly.
Because the choice was taken away from you, wasn't it? You had to learn it. Yeah,
I had to, and I developed a little system, and my brain just got used to doing it quicker. Thankfully. So I don't get stressed about it anymore.
how did that role come about then? Audition? They approached you?
Yeah, that was through my agent. It was a self-tape, and then I went up to Leeds and did like a second round. Had a little chemistry read with Patrick Mower, who plays Rodney.
Yeah, is that the person who you had a relationship with?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. He was nearly 80 at the time.
He was a little bit older than you, wasn't he?
Yeah. I think they threw him a little bone. He apparently used to go up to the writer's room with story ideas. He'd pitch ideas.
Was Misty his idea?
I don't know. I wonder if they just wanted to, like, give him a nice little storyline, keep him happy for a bit. I was a sex therapist. I think part of the storyline was that his family were sort of disgusted by the fact that he was having lots of sex with this young woman.
Tantric sex.
Yeah. Like, we had animal spirits. It was wild. They went there. Yeah.
How was that experience then? Like, doing the audition, realizing that you've got the part, and then working on it. Like, what is it? Is it 5 days a week? I mean, it must be pretty full on doing Emmerdale. Yeah,
it was. My character was a fairly light load. It was a sort of daft little comic thread that wasn't, it wasn't a huge filming commitment. It was like 2 or 3 days a week over 6 months. It was like really civilized, and I would commute it and then stay in a hotel when I had like a couple of consecutive days. It was it was kind of fun. It was silly, really.
You look back on fond memories of doing it though, do you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And everyone was really lovely on it. Everyone was, they're a really kind of tight family, really professional, brilliant actors. They kind of know what they're doing. There's different there's different sort of styles of acting between different households. I found that really interesting. There's some storylines that are really naturalistic, and I was part of a bit more of a sort of theatrical
a wacky
family.
one. Yeah. Well, you went to Thailand after, didn't you, for some fire breathing? Is that right?
Oh, hey, good
when you left
knowledge.
Big fan.
Good knowledge.
Big fan, yes.
You're like, what?
No, that's very good. Well done. I'd forgotten that.
I'm going to bring it on to parenting then. Yeah. So your son, three years old. How have you found parenting and acting, and how have you found like the juggling and the balancing?
I don't know. It's really hard. I was really lucky because I had a long theatre job that covered my pregnancy. Mm-hmm. So I got to kind of come to terms with, like becoming, pregnancy and the idea of becoming a mum, while doing a job I really loved. So I was working at the RSC, and they were pretty amazing about incorporating the pregnancy into the role and stuff. And it was a really special experience because I got to be an actor. I felt very much myself doing the thing that I loved. It seemed like the industry was embracing the pregnancy and the idea of all of that, and they did an amazing thing where they offered me a job share. So another actress, Naomi Sheldon, who had just had twins, she was ready to come back to work, and she job shared with me so that when we were on tour, when I was kind of coming up to being 8 months pregnant, she wore the pregnancy bump. It meant that I was doing lesser shows a week. She was kind of practicing the role, and then she took over for the London transfer. And that was quite groundbreaking in theatre. A lot of people were really excited about that as an option for women who still want to work pregnant.
Of course, of course.
Obviously, it's a tricky one because it doesn't necessarily work for every character, and that becomes a case of, do you ask the audience to suspend their disbelief? Do you ask the audience not to notice the bump and just do the play anyway? But that's like, it's a bit of a grey area, really. So that was brilliant. Then I had Tal, and I just had a sort of, it was kind of amazing, but I, didn't really sleep for,
going on now.
3 years, basically.
Yeah.
that we've only just turned a corner on that one. And you know, you're like both parents, so I'm sure you know this really well. Like, but there's this almost like a death of spirit. Like you have to kind of, you're kind of reborn as a new version of yourself, and there's something in your life that's more important than everything else. So I found myself like a bit disinterested in acting, like wanting to do something for me, and I did the odd thing, bits of filming, adverts, thing. I certainly didn't want to do theatre. I didn't want to be away from him at bedtimes and things like that. And I also like I had an amazing experience actually. I did Wolf. It was like a sort of thriller. I think it was ITV. And I just had like a couple of days filming on it, and I was still breastfeeding Tal at the time. And they were amazing about that. I sort of was upfront about that before, and I was like, he's going to have to be near the set. I'm still breastfeeding. It is what it is. And they were like, great, we'll work around it. And they had like, you know, they had people on radios. I was like, I'm gonna need to express now. And they were like, right, great, okay, we're having a little break. So I'd be in the makeup chair. They'd be tweaking my makeup. I'd have a big pump on.
That's awesome, though, isn't
and
it?
then I'd have to hand my bottle to a runner who was like, milk travelling. And I'd heard someone else on the radio being like, baby travelling. And they were bringing him in a car with my mother to like get the milk. It was so ridiculous.
That's awesome.
But like, yeah, and then there was another experience on a different job where they weren't great about it, and he wasn't allowed to come to set, and that was really stressful. So there's a long way to go, I think, in terms of making it smoother for mums. But yeah, I don't know.
We've talked about parenting quite a lot in this room, and like, it's bloody tough, isn't it?
Oh my God, yeah.
The people can tell you how hard it's going to be, but nothing can prepare you for when you've got that little one or two, whatever it is. And like you're saying, you know, that's now the most important thing. And that's like a natural feeling though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Totally natural feeling.
And the more I talk to people about this as well, the more people are like, yeah, me too. It's like, nobody warns you about the fact that you have like a constant stream of intrusive thoughts about ways in which they're going to die. It's like,
I always used to check if they were breathing all the time. I felt like I put like a little mirror up to a glass. Yeah, he's still breathing.
Yeah,
still breathing.
Because Maxim is he's a deep sleeper, but he breathes really lightly. The amount of times I put my ear to like his chest or his mouth just to make sure it's just natural, isn't it? It is totally natural. Yeah,
particularly in the earlier stages, isn't it? When you just got that little potato that doesn't really do much apart from scream and not sleep.
My God.
The sleep deprivation, though.
The sleep deprivation.
That's
it's
the
like
worst.
Guantanamo. I mean, it's
the worst bit. I think. Well, for me, I think that's probably the worst bit. And also, I feel like you sort of lose yourself a little bit, and then almost forget who you sort of are. You're like, what do I like now?
Yeah,
because you're so sleep deprived, and you've got like baby brain. And then
there's a reason they use it for torture, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. And then you're just thinking, well, oh yeah, I remember what I like now. I remember what type of human being I am now, because you're solely like devoted to that child, aren't you? You're just giving everything to that child.
I think as well. I mean, I hope this is less the case in somewhere like Aber, you know, where there's a bit more of a close-knit community. But certainly in London, I felt a little bit far away from my support network. And so you get kind of sucked into social media, and you get a real artificial sense of how other people are coping with parenting.
Smashing it in inverted commas.
Yeah, exactly. Where they're like, you know, cooking an amazing like batch meal with babe in sling. I'm just like looking glamorous.
Just on a 10K.
Shut up. Shut up. You're lying.
But they get a lot of hate as well, don't
really
they?
Dangerous.
The real mums are giving them loads of shit on there, saying that's not true. Surely that's not true, because it can't. Well, social media is terrible for that, though, isn't it? It's like a highlight reel.
Yeah.
And
also I think people are struggling, and so they want to like, I don't know what drives this impulse to like prove to the world that we're doing a good job, but I think we do have like an increasing impulse to like prove ourselves by being like, look at me go, I'm doing well, everybody. Honestly honestly I am.
Come look how great I look, everybody.
Also, please help me. I'm not doing well.
A little bit more honesty. I've said this on this podcast. I would love some serious like honesty on things like social media. Like I much rather see a post where I'm laughing because it might be quite funny because someone's been quite honest on it, saying like, I've had a terrible day, or like take a photo of your kids, one of them's crying. Or, like, it's just kind of like the not sort of sugar coated, as Dave said, highlight reel. It's just not real. It's not the real.
But why are we doing it though? Why?
I don't know.
Like, why are we?
People love gratification, don't they? They love it. They love people liking it.
I don't think it. Yeah, the people liking it. Although I think we would, maybe people would like the real stuff more.
Definitely.
I love the real stuff.
Or would they? Maybe not.
Maybe some people would be like, but I love some of the sort of the real stuff, you know.
Who's that guy you send me reels of him all the time? That dad.
He's really funny.
He's really funny, but he's brutally honest.
He's really funny.
He's like, he talks about when he went on holiday with his kids. He's like, an absolute nightmare. Don't do it. He puts you off holidays completely.
He goes, it was not a holiday for me. He was
not
just
a holiday.
I just quite like the honesty, because people's lives they're not perfect, are they?
No, this one, I love this this mum where she's like, ways to get 5 minutes of peace, and she hides herself inside a coat hanging on the stairs.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. Or on a door or something. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. Or you go to the toilet is the classic one. And then the other parent's like, what are you doing in there?
Terrible.
Trying to juggle some kids.
My partner really likes to use the toilet technique, and I now set my son on him. I'm like, go and knock on the door and ask Daddy what he's doing in there.
They always do it anyway, my kids. I feel like I can't have, same for everyone, I'm sure, isn't it? I feel like I can't have a shower or a bath or a toilet. No. One of them's going to come in and one of them's going to want something. And I feel, me and Dave, we send each other like memes where early in the morning, if we're up, maybe we're giving our partner like a lion or something. I just feel like a waiter. So I'm running in and like Cora's like, can I have some toast and a drink? Yeah, no worries. And I realised all I've been doing for like an hour is like preparing food and giving people drinks and taking people to the bathroom. I just feel like a slave.
I made myself a cup of tea 3 times one morning, didn't touch it.
Like stone cold.
Just stone cold all 3 times. But it's good fun anyway. It's a good laugh. It's a good laugh. I like, it's an amazing
wonderful
thing. Of course
like,
it is.
It's the best thing.
It's simultaneously the most hellish and the most beautiful, brilliant thing. It's mad, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. How do you look after, I like asking the people this question, like, how do you look after your own sort of mental health? Like, do you like exercise? Do you like reading? How do you do it for yourself?
There's loads of ways in which I can improve my mental health, many of which I don't feel like I have any time
Not
for.
Succeeded.
I'm failing on the kind of self-care generally. I've been trying to make more of an effort to do yoga. That's a big one for me. I really like it.
Yeah.
The fruitier the better. I love a bit of like humming and crystals and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Bit of incense in the corner.
All of it. Oh, yeah.
UB40's on.
Maybe I'm not sure what UB40. I like it there, left field. No, I'm not very into that myself, but I really like a yoga teacher to be into that. I really like them to just represent their thing fully. I'm into it. That helps. Running, I used to do a lot of running. Not much. I do a little bit. I don't know. Reading, I suppose anything that I find it difficult to do self-care stuff in the home because there's always jobs. Yeah. So I find it really hard to like read a book at home, and I need to get better at it because it makes a huge difference when I manage to do it. I'm like good at kind of reaching out to friends as well. That's the big one for me. I'm like, I will just kind of call people, and even just leaving people voice notes actually. I've sort of started doing that a little bit more because we're a bit scattered, and one of my besties lives in Australia, so we're not even on a very similar time frame, so we just send each other like 10-minute voice notes every couple of weeks. So that's kind of nice. Little podcast.
I love a voice note. I do. I just find it easier because I'm sort of like same as everybody. You're just so busy that I don't want to write like a big paragraph to someone, and I'll listen to a voice note while I'm doing something. Like I could be getting the kids their toast after school, and then I've just got this voice note on, and then I'm like, listen. So it's a little bit easier, isn't it? But it kind of goes back to the parenting quite a lot, doesn't it? It just changes your life.
Yeah.
Sauna as well. You like a sauna? Just try that one on the prom.
I did, and went like jumped off the jetty into the sea as well.
Cold. A little bit of cold plunge.
Oh
and then,
yeah. My brother. I went in with my brother and some of his pals, and I went in, and my body kind of turned to lead, and he was like, just don't do panic breathing, control your breathing and you'll be okay. I was like, all right, Wim Hof. So I did. I took his advice, and I like mind over mattered my breathing, and then I found that my body just relaxed and warmed up, and I had a little swim around and did sort of 3 minutes. And
I feel like my body would not listen to me at all.
Well, we're going to try, aren't we?
Dave's, we're
in on Sunday apparently.
Yeah.
I've been booked in, looking forward to it. I love a sauna.
It's great.
Yes.
There's a bit of a gap around the door, so you've got to keep splashing the stones, keep it hot.
Keep it hot.
Get a
It's lovely though. Such a lovely idea.
I think we should try and brave the sea though, because the thing is, we're spoiled with wetsuits growing up surfing, and I think like it's almost like worse for us, I think, because I'm used to wearing a nice warm wetsuit when I go in the sea, and if I'm going in there now with a pair of shorts on,
I got no interest in jumping in the sea after that, I'll be honest.
Really?
No.
You can do the sea and then the sauna. Do sauna, sea, sauna.
I think I'm going to do it,
Finish on a warm.
Yeah. Sandwich it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Come on, Dave, we'll do it.
Even if it's just an in and out, it's good for you. Good for your
I'll take your word for it.
lymphatic system.
There's
or
loads
something.
of positives from a sauna. Loads of positives.
And the cold plunge.
Yeah, I know.
Apparently. I
don't
know the science behind it, but it's
No,
quite
it's very, very
convincing.
good.
I feel like all my neighbours have now got those little ice pods.
Lumi pods.
Yeah.
I've got one.
Have you?
Yeah, it doesn't get used though.
Oh right, yeah.
The borderline hypothermia out there once. It's bloody horrible. I'm going to bring it back to Aberystwyth, right? Because I've got it written down, yeah. Why do you think there's an abundance of talent come out of such a small town? Because if you think about the group, and I'm certainly not going to name drop anybody, but there's a lot of good talent that comes from here.
Yeah, in so
What
many
is it?
different fields as well.
Yeah.
What is it? I don't know. Are we on some sort of magical druid ley line kind of meeting point? I feel like there's something magic about the town. I think there's some ancient magic here. It's beautiful. I think the art centre, when I was growing up, was a kind of real hub of like cool things, lots of stuff for kids to do. I think the Eisteddfod culture as well.
Of course, yeah.
It used to kind of... I competed in like art and singing and stuff. I mean, I was always very bad, but I still did it.
You gave it a go.
Yeah, I gave it a go.
You gave it a go.
And I think it builds your confidence. It normalises performing. I can only really speak about it from that perspective. But I think I kind of grew up with performing being like a part of life. There's also... certainly in my family, it's quite a Welsh thing. There's a kind of culture of like everybody has a bit. So you'll kind of, after a couple of drinks, when you all get together, you'll do like a number. And I remember hating it as a kid, and my mum would just basically make me do it. Like it was the one thing that she was weirdly strict about, was like, you will do your singing. Like, okay. And I remember my cousins all sort of like laughing at me because it was just really embarrassing, but I did it, and I grew a thicker skin.
Yeah,
that probably helped you a lot in your acting career.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. I think as well, I was saying this to you the other day, like I think in a small place, if you're kind of passionate about something, there's less competition, so you get to kind of thrive in your field. So you get to feel like a bit of a big fish, and then kind of you take that attitude with you. You feel like you're good at something, you've been rewarded for doing something, and you have a right to try and do that thing and like share it or build on it, or I don't know.
I feel like it can be positive mental attitude and just like feeling really confident.
Yeah.
So it's a good way of looking at it. I hadn't really thought about it like that way.
I feel like it could go the opposite way as well, though. You could be like a big fish in a small pond, and then you get out there and then it doesn't work out. But I feel like that doesn't really always happen in terms of Aberystwyth. You get like people who go on and then they're like pretty almost the best in their field, even amongst all the other people, like Olympic cyclists.
Yeah, exactly.
Taran,
It's all sorts of people
like
have done that
loads of
out of town.
I also
Artists.
think that you're inspired by your peers as well. I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but Taran actually came and worked on his RADA audition speeches with me because I'd already got in.
Amazing.
And he was like, "Can you look at my speeches?" And I helped him and I worked on it. And I'm sure it felt very possible to him because I'd already done it. And I'm just, for the record, not taking any credit for his talent. He was already bloody brilliant.
Yeah.
And he took notes really well and he was really fun to work with even then. So, but yeah, I think, because we were aware of each other, and for me, like, I knew about catching, getting into Royal Welsh, and so that was kind of really exciting because I felt she made it feel possible for me. So I think there was I felt this in Penwethig anyway. I can't speak for Penglais, but that there was a culture of people kind of playing off each other a bit and making things possible for each other, like a kind of positive competition. It didn't feel like people were trying to undermine each other. It felt kind of celebratory on the whole, I would say.
Surrounding yourself with good creative people and like helping each other out.
Yeah,
no, it is good for that, Aber, to be fair. People have overachieved, I feel like, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just amazing. I feel like it's amazing to come from such a small rural place, which is like end of the line, and it is an amazing place. And then people just go on to do incredible things.
I think we are really lucky to have the art centre here, though, because it gives kids the option who might not be into sport or might not be into whatever. They've got that option right on our doorstep, and I think that helps definitely having it here.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
Without the uni and without the art centre, I know you can go down a little bit of a list, but like it'd be a bit of a ghost town without the uni. It'd be pretty horrible
true.
without the art centre.
And we have to there's been a lot of cuts to the arts, as I'm sure you know, and a lot of communities are losing their local theatres. So we have to fight for these places because they're really important for society. We've got to kind of make an effort to go and see the shows that are on there and take kids to classes and just keep it alive. Because even if you're not going, even if that's not the career that you're following, it builds community. It's really, I think it's really important, and it makes me feel really sad the way that theatre's kind of falling away, especially since COVID, because people have kind of fallen out of the habit of going.
The routine for a lot of things went through COVID, didn't it?
I was going to ask you about COVID, actually. Do you mind telling me a little bit about your sort of experience of 2020, moving into 2023, maybe, I suppose?
Yeah, it was... I was kind of all right. There was that last leg of lockdown that was in January, where I think most people felt like they couldn't cope with it, and I think I really felt
I think I remember that one. I think people thought they were allowed to go out on Boxing Day or something like that, and then at the last minute they were like, we're closing the pubs, and then everybody was leaving on the trains to go back to like maybe their household to see their family, and it was just like carnage. So nobody was going out. I remember me and you were like, we're really looking forward to going out on like Boxing Day or night to go out for a few drinks, and then they just sort of like cancelled it.
They did. It was like last minute. I think that might have been Wales though, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it could have been. I'm guessing
London.
you were in London for this.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. I can't remember. They were like, they sort of lifted the like travel ban for a bit, or people were allowed to do renovation stuff, and I worked with my dad in the summer here for a bit renovating. I actually managed to do a bit of acting work, weirdly, because that kept going. Because hilariously,
that's amazing. It kept
going. It was essential work. But weirdly it was, because everyone was watching Netflix, wasn't it?
Yeah, God.
So it was sort of strange. I felt kind of galvanised in my career choice. I was like, see, you're providing important escapism for people in a time of need. Well done, you. Well done, you, saving people. One TV show at a time.
Bang those pots and pans.
But yeah, my partner's also an actor, unfortunately, and we were, because we lived together, we were in a bubble, so we did an advert together because they needed couples who were already in a bubble. So that was kind of handy.
Me, actually,
yeah. But it was Yeah, it was all right. Dan and I were in London. We had a friend living with us, so he helped buffer the kind of like couple tension.
So you're not just tearing into each other.
Yeah, I did a lot of running. I remember doing like 2 consecutive platinum months on the Nike app, which is like 160 kilometers.
Wow, oh my God,
so I was like, that's all I was doing, was just running.
There was very little to do there. Well, unless you carried on working or have 2 very young children.
Oh God, of course, yeah.
But I think we were really lucky around here.
Really lucky.
That's
like I couldn't
true,
imagine being in the city and like on top of a high-rise flats or anything like that. We were lucky. We could go for a walk. We could go on the beach. Sometimes we weren't supposed to, but there was no one around.
Yeah.
We'd walk the prom and things. We were lucky.
Yeah.
Eerie, wasn't it?
It was odd.
It was probably quite different in London. I almost can't imagine it, but I imagine that there's still people everywhere, even during lockdown, just because there's so many people in the city. Or was it a little bit eerie?
Well,
I don't know.
It was, I remember running into Trafalgar Square one day, because obviously I was covering a lot of mileage.
Yeah.
Ran all over London. Like, this is allowed, I'm exercising. But yeah, running into Trafalgar Square, and it was quite apocalyptic. There was nobody there.
Like 28 days later.
Yeah, it was
So
exactly
like that scene.
Yeah, it was
Murphy in the beginning.
that's exactly what I thought, actually.
Yeah.
But where I was, it was, everybody was allowed to go and food shop, and I was near the canals at the time. I was living in Hackney, so I was running a lot along the canals, and everybody was doing the same thing. Not that people were socialising, but there was a feeling that everybody was in it together, and there was a weird relief, because I'd had a bit of a quiet acting time, I think, before COVID, and it was like, cool, nobody's working. Nobody's doing better than me at this point in time.
We're all in it together.
Okay, I can flip it up again now, just real quick. What advice would you give to someone who's just starting their acting career? Say if they're off to uni now, or college, or school.
God.
What would you...
Oh, it's hard. I'd be torn, because a part of me would be like, is there anything else that you can do? If there is, do it. Do something else.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's hard. It's so hard, especially now that I've had a baby. Like, we're just skint most of the time. We'll get like nice job, money coming in, and then nothing for ages. It's just so erratic. And the fact that Dan's an actor as well, it's just, obviously I'm not necessarily representative of a lot of actors. Some people are kind of able to make a steady income from it, but I don't know, it's really difficult with kids. Maybe I would advise them not to partner up with another actor. Maybe be an actor but marry a banker.
Someone with a solid job
to bankroll you.
I don't know, that's such a cynical answer, isn't it? What advice would I give? I suppose it's hard to kind of keep the creative passion alive when you're kind of struggling to survive. So just to have an awareness of that, and just to check in that you want to do it because you really want to tell stories. You have a really real genuine passion for that part of it, because if you can keep that passion alive, then you can make do with life being difficult. But if you're getting into it thinking that it's glamorous, then it's like mostly not. And I think even for people, because I have a lot of friends who are kind of very successful, and they all kind of say the same thing, that the glamorous part of it is like the price is so much higher the more kind of glamorous it gets, because you have to sacrifice so much more, like time and privacy, and it's just you have to truly ask yourself if you're like devoted to like expressing yourself in that way. And just ask yourself why, and if you're sure about why, then go for it, and hang on to that integrity. Just keep telling the truth. Keep like looking at society and asking yourself like what stories you want to tell. I've found myself a bit frustrated because I'm not often getting scripts that are exciting in that way. So I've actually just turned my hand at writing. So that I'm sort of doing that. We'll see how it goes. I've submitted a short film that I wrote to a competition and it's been shortlisted. So I'm
well
waiting
done.
to hear.
Well
on
done.
that.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like a lot of actors have kind of had that realization where they're like, if the industry's kind of letting them down a bit, then they're like, okay, well, I better take matters into my own hands.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. It's my first stab at it. So
Brilliant.
We'll see.
Well, best of luck with it.
Thank you.
It's really brave as well. I respect anybody who gives anything sort of a go like that, particularly if they've got a passion for it. It's amazing. If you could play any role or any type of role, maybe you haven't done so already, what would that be? What would you love to sort of portray a story of?
I would love to do like a martial arts, like sort of comedy.
Kill Bill almost came straight into my head then.
Yeah.
It's not a comedy.
Well, but not a comedy as such, but like something like Kill Bill, that it's a kind of tongue-in-cheek martial arts.
I love Kill Bill.
That is my like secret dream.
No way.
I always wanted to be like Jackie Chan's sidekick. I don't think it's my casting particularly.
Are we on like Rush Hour 7?
Right one.
Well, now then.
Oh, okay.
I am thinking about writing.
Here we go.
Karate Kid in Aberystwyth.
Top of quantity.
Yeah.
Do some crane kicks maybe.
So that's
interesting.
that's the honest answer. Although I would also love to like do a bit more Shakespeare. I'd love to maybe play Macbeth, because Lady M's a bit underwritten. Like, fuck it, I'll be him.
Go for it.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Quick fire.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So we end up with like a few 3 or 4 questions, just like real quick ones.
Random.
But we always end up having a ramble with it anyway.
Yeah,
Okay.
we do.
Favourite film, Hedydd?
Oh crap.
So hard, isn't it?
Oh, Dead Poet Society. It's not really my favourite, but
Robin Williams?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Okay.
had a
Love
big
that one.
Good one.
impact on me as a kid.
Yeah.
I just remember it blowing my mind. So I'll say that one.
Great
Okay.
actor.
He's brilliant.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Bit random. Favourite cereal?
Ah, God, this is so hard. Bran flakes.
Oh, what? that has got to be. I think we've had like Crave Lion Bar cereal.
Hang on.
Someone said.
Out of all the cereals in the world, you picked bran flakes. Talk to us, Hedydd.
I think you might need to expand a bit on the cereal cupboard. I don't know.
There's a load more out there, you know.
I'm not into like a sugary cereal.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
Please
It's
don't
obvious.
judge me.
It's
Please
obvious.
don't judge me. I'm so
Fair
sorry.
enough. Dave?
Music? Any favourite bands? What's that you go to?
I like sort of folk and soul, anything up to sort of late 70s. Like, I've sort of switched off like around the mid 90s.
It's gone.
Oh yeah, Radio 1 comes on. I'm like, yeah, that Radio 2 on, all smooth, maybe.
Smooth FM. Smooth FM. Yeah.
I love it. I just, I'm weirdly dated in my music choice.
That's cool.
Oh, that's fine.
I like it.
Bit of
That's
Al
fine.
Green all day long.
I'll go. It doesn't have to be a takeaway. I was going to say favourite takeaway / food.
Indian, probably.
Nice.
Takeaway Indian, country, maybe French.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Bœuf bourguignon.
Bit of
Noodles
coq au vin. Butter and garlic. Lovely.
Oh yeah, they nailed it with that, didn't they? To be fair.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Happy?
Yeah.
Happy.
Really good.
Finished
Thanks so
on
much for
Indian.
being on.
Thank you. Thanks, Hedydd.
Thank
You're
you.
so welcome. Thank
Cheers.
you. Loved it.